Thank you so much for the opportunity. I don't know whether it's good or bad to be the first, but I take it as good. It's indeed an honor, and Prof. Sachs, for all the work you do for education. I'm really appreciative of your efforts in Ghana, especially towards meeting the SDG goals, and we are very appreciative. And to all of you who made it possible for us to be here, I'm truly appreciative. Ghana is undergoing a major transformation in education. We're looking at the relevance of our education system, we're looking at access, and of course, we're looking at the quality of the education system. The President of the Republic 6 years ago decided that secondary education should no longer be the preserve of the rich, that everyone in Ghana should have access to secondary education. So we began the implementation of the free senior high school. Now we are making great strides, beginning with 800,000 students. Now we have 1.3 million students in high school. The country had to fall back on leapfrogging strategies. We began the implementation of year-round schools, as was happening in California. I happen to have taught in the California school system. For 10 years, I became a charter school developer in South Los Angeles for another 12 years. So I knew the US system inside and out and needed to also borrow from America to influence the way we implemented our strategy. For those who know South Los Angeles, you know that I'm a survivor. I haven't taught there for 10 years. And coming into the Ghanaian space, we wanted to borrow from everywhere. So we used the year-round system, was able to increase enrollment in secondary schools by 50%. And since it was free then, we were able to also increase our gender parity. Until then, most parents will make a decision as to whether we send a girl child to school or the boy. And invariably, it was the boy. The girl was left at home. So 5 years ago, our gender parity was 0.92, and now it's 0.99. Next year, we think we'll maintain the 1-to-1, which will be a great accomplishment for any country, especially for a sub-Saharan African country. Now, in terms of open education resources, we had to take a look seriously at how we bring about quality through technology. So we were able to have a homegrown solution called the iBox. It's a device that emits local Wi-Fi, so we could access quality content that has been developed and saved on that device like a server. So wherever you are within a 1-mile radius, you are able to access the content on that system. And it was developed in Ghana, made in Ghana for Ghanaians. And this device has been very helpful. Now the content has been moved online, and consequently, our schools with internet access can have access to quality content, because you see, in a number of the schools in the rural areas, it's difficult to get a high-performing physics teacher or chemistry teacher. But once the content is developed by these high-performing teachers and they are stored on the iBox, then schools in remote areas can have access to this quality content without having internet connectivity. They get it from the local Wi-Fi through the iBox. We also, in Ghana, are using other solutions supported by UNICEF called the Learning Passport. So this is also another open education resource that is helping us. But we have an agency called CENDLOS, Center for Open Distance and Open Learning. And this organization is championing the development of open resources for us. We also want to ensure, in alignment with relevance of the education system, we want to increase the number of students pursuing STEM-related courses. Now, it means that you need a lab. We don't have the resources to build science labs everywhere. So we then worked with Open University UK and developed virtual labs. So once we have a projector, we are able to teach chemistry in every school in Ghana. So what that also means, I always joke with it and say, hey, you do the chemistry experiment and the chemical blows up in front of you, you still will not get hurt. So we're able to do chemistry without the wet lab. We're able to do fixes without all the tools. So we are now on track to promoting STEM education and boosting the STEM enrollment in the country. We began the construction of STEM girls' schools And Kuwait Fund has supported 2 schools. Other organizations have come on board in providing funding for the construction of STEM schools. So in Ghana, there's a major boost for STEM education through open education resource and also through the construction of wet labs. So a number of things are happening. I don't know my time, so I don't want to overstay my welcome, you know.
I think we'd love to keep listening to you for as long as you would like to speak, but...
I always have to remind myself, you know, I'm a teacher. Teachers talk, right? And my new profession as a politician, you also, if you don't talk, you're in trouble. So, so I always want to make sure that I'm not overstepping my welcoming. So we are now building a virtual high school supported by South Korea. And this virtual high school is going to give us access to quality education in remote locations. And the interesting thing is that the shortage of teachers doesn't become a problem because teachers can teach from one school and it's all sent to remotely to other schools. So it's a big boost for us in terms of ensuring that we can improve the relevance of our education system. We know that STEM, and you can say STEAM, holds the key to our transformation. But when you have limited resources, you use technology to do what is impossible. So we are full steam ahead in terms of ensuring that we can increase the numbers of our students participating in STEM and STEAM, and that is how we put to rest the issue of rote memorization. You can't do rote memorization in STEM. We have to really participate in the learning process and make sure that we can get the critical mass that with the critical minds that we need for our transformation. You see, I always say that from my experience in the US going back to Ghana, we have good children in Ghana, so respectful. But I go to schools upon schools and I speak with the students. And when I finish speaking with them, I'll say, do you have a question for me? No hand goes up. A hand is just to go up in all my encounters in Ghanaian classrooms. We have tamed the children. We just want them to write down what we tell them. At the day of exams, they should put down what we have told them. We say, you are the best student the country has ever known. That kind of education system will not transform Ghana. That kind of education system is not going to give us critical thinking individuals, especially since we are in the 21st century and education 4.0, the 4th industrial revolution. You can't memorize your way out of poverty, but you can critically think and innovate out of poverty. So Ghanaian schools, African schools have to begin to take a serious look at what I call the assertive curriculum. A curriculum that empowers the African child to ask questions and challenge the status quo respectfully within the African cultural context. But not a curriculum that tells the African child to be quiet and don't say anything when the adult is speaking. And tell the adult back, tell him back whatever he was told. That kind of education system, I don't care if we get to the point where every African child is in school. If you put all of them in school and do not change the way you teach them by empowering them to be assertive individuals, you will still not transform Africa through education. So as we embark on access, we also have to look at the quality and the relevance of the education system that will truly put us in a space where education can become the most important socioeconomic transformation agent. Our education system now is not going to be what transforms our continent. And we need to take a serious look. I know about Ghana, I know about other countries. If you're a country in Africa and an exception, then you are good. But I know that invariably, we want to tame the children. The quietest child in the class is deemed as the most respectful. And we have to begin to take a serious look at the curricula, the pedagogy, the strategy that we are using so that Africa will be transformed through education when we have the critical mass with critical mind to really challenge the status quo so that we can innovate ourselves out of poverty through education. Thank you for the opportunity.